Hello unicorns, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Forget my raggedy ass. It's been a long day today, but here we are. To be honest, it's the first time I'm getting the strength to do just one thing, and I decided to channel that energy towards doing something to, boost the content of my channel. First of all, I'm appreciative of the people who were able to subscribe to my channel after the call I made on Facebook, because getting people to subscribe to your channel is kind of hard, because one, you want people to subscribe because they relate to your content, not just because they know you or just because they follow you on social media and everything. And that's why I posed the question why. I wanted to know probably what would be the one thing or the many things you'd like to see on my channel that currently you don't see. And so that's why I made that call. But yeah, it is a frustration, really. So yeah, and the reason I'm doing this video is because I want to, I don't know, probably 10 things you need to know when you're traveling to, I wouldn't say any Schengen country. I would have said that because the visa that I got to come to Denmark was a Schengen visa, which means every country in the Schengen, circle I can visit. But I would call this video 10 things you need to know about your process to coming to Denmark, including when you're in Denmark, what you need to know and what you need and what you don't need to know. Yeah, and I'll start with the visa process. First of all, maybe just to give some sort of appreciation to the US Embassy, because before I came here, I had to look for a visa to go to the US for the CSW, and that was the most amazing experience I ever had when I was looking for my US visa. Why? Because, well, no process is really a process if it doesn't have procedures that sometimes can be annoying and everything, and nothing takes away from that, from the process of looking for the US visa. But I had an amazing experience in the sense that chronologically I just went from filling the form D160, which is the first form you always fill, which you get on the website of the embassy, and then after filling that form you have to take initiative and go ahead and go to the website of the embassy again, but this time around open your own account with the embassy. And in this site now you're able to follow the procedure of, I've done the form D160, and then after that there's another process where you receive an email with confirmation that they've received your form D160, and you go ahead and fill a few information, including some which you're extracting from the form D160. So basically just verifying I filled this form, my number. They always give you a number after you're done filling the form, your number and your name, and details like who is funding your trip to wherever you're going. Is it a work trip? Is it basically just to zero in on the type of visa you're applying for, because we have different types: diplomatic, yada yada, all this, B1, B2, that is business, and they have a lot of things that you can get a visa for. After you're done with that process, the next process is you're supposed to pay the 16,800 Kenya shillings, which you're required to pay for the visa process. This amount is redeemable, not refundable, redeemable in the sense that if you apply for the visa in January and you pay that amount and you didn't get the visa, you can always try again all through the year until the following year, January. Why? It's because it's not a small amount of money, so they have to make it flexible in the sense that the one reason you want to go to the US this time is not the same reason you might want to go to the US the next time. And oftentimes, especially for us in the CSO world, one time you wanted to travel for a meeting and you were not allowed. You want to travel for another meeting and you might be allowed. So they give room, unless your reasons for being denied a visa are reasons that go against the conditions that are set by the US immigration on how you can get a visa, because there are some things that render you banned to get a visa for a period of time, and when you're banned like that, then you have to wait until that period expires, and that means if within that year you paid that amount, then that amount will just go down the drain. And then after you've done that process, then you'll be asked where would you want your visa dropped in case you got it, or if you didn't get it, where would you want your passport dropped. Oftentimes, when you don't get it, you go back home with your passport. When you get it, you leave your passport. And so the thing is always, if you get your visa, where do you get it dropped? And they use DHL services, so all the DHLs in the country. So regardless of where you are, if you're in Nakuru and you came to Nairobi for your visa rather, what you do when you get to that section is you fill up DHL in Nakuru, so that it will be the initiative of the consular in Nairobi to send your passport together with the visa, because the visa is stuck on a page inside your passport. When you fill that information, they'll send it. There's an amount you always pay later. After you've been told that your visa has been approved, you pay another amount of 4,200 Kenya shillings. And then when you pay, it's less than a week. It's just 2 to 3 business days and you get your visa. It's such a clear process. And one thing I got to learn about that is the fact that I think the criteria in which they deny visa is that when you fill the form D160, they go and do a background search on that, on the information you've given and all that. So for me, I think the first thing that I will have to say is I advise you to be as candid, honest, and just be as honest as possible, because the information on form D160 is what would determine if you'll get the visa or not. Don't lie. Lies are expensive. If you have a child, say you have a child. Don't be scared to say where you're going. Don't be scared to say, the most awkward discussions you'll be asked are questions like, are you gonna come back, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you're gonna come back, and if you're not gonna come back, you can also say you're not gonna come back, so that they know what to do with that information and everything. I have known people who have applied and gone and said they're not coming back, and the reason they're going is because they're going to seek asylum for whatever reason, and these people are still given the visas. So it's fundamental to be honest. The minute you feel the need to lie, that's the minute you should stop applying for that visa, because it's crazy when you lie. I don't know, but we need to acknowledge that America is a first world country. It has resources to do background research on many things and many people. We've lived through the times of WikiLeaks, where we've had allegedly the government of the US gets information about leadership and leaders across Africa and everything. So don't be fooled. It won't be hard to get information on you if they can get information of some of the most censored human beings on earth. So try and be as honest as possible. So then when you go through that process and you've chosen where and everything, the next thing that you'll do is you'll be provided with some log, some I don't know what to call it, but some log where they have dates available for interviews. So that's the trickiest thing. They'll put dates there. If you're not careful, and that's why I'll say probably if you know you're traveling, it's good to know this information earlier and start your visa process very early, because then on the time log of when you can go for your visa, you can possibly choose a date for your visa, they always they stretch far and wide. What I noticed though is on the website, they have a functioning number, which is a good thing, a number that you can actually call and speak to a customer care agent at the consular. And when I called mine, because I remember when I was applying for my visa, it was on 4th, it was on 1st, I think. And I had to call because the dates they gave me on the log, first of all, there was 26th and 28th of March, and then there was 26th and 21st March. And that was kind of worrisome. I kept on refreshing, but the dates wouldn't go beyond 21st. And that was kind of scary because then my travel was meant for 9th March. And so that means I needed to get an interview earlier. So when I took an initiative, I wasn't told. I didn't know this information. I wasn't told. So I just took the number and called it. And when I called it, it was picked, and I explained that I had already done every procedure that I'm required to do. I already paid the amount. I already picked a site where my passport can be dropped. But what I need to know, the site where the place where your passport will be dropped you'll be decided after you've picked the date for the interview. So then, when I called the guy, he was really nice, and he went ahead to tell me the next available date was 4th in the morning from 8 a.m. And that was kind of miraculous. I think the reason they don't put those dates is to avoid, having a lot of people picking that date, because everyone would want a date closer so that if anything happens, you can know how to go about it from there. And so I was told I can go for the interview on 4th, and on 4th, this is another story that I'll tell another day. I think only 2 or 3 people know this story about the day that I went for my visa and everything. This is a story I'll tell later. But on the 4th of March 2019, I was able to go for my visa, got there. And I promise you, the visa interview is not a long process. In fact, it's a process that takes less than 5 minutes. What takes long is, the many places that you have to go through, many entrances and exits. Whenever there's an exit, means there's an entrance ahead. And with this, you have to be searched, and then they have procedure. You get to the gate, the security person searches you, they ask for your passport, they stick some number, and then you go, they make sure, I think there's a list of people who have interviews on that day, and they verify, and you're told to go in. You'll go somewhere, you'll be given a number, you go somewhere, everything will be, and if you can, try and wear tights and sandals and everything, because there's a lot of remove your belt, remove your sandals, remove your shoes, and all that kind of procedure. So, and I promise you, you don't have to look very official. You just have to look like yourself. Be as easy as possible. It's never that serious. I came to learn that. It's never that serious. So just be easy. Be easy. And then after that, you'll go in, and then go somewhere where it seems like you're out, and then walk to another building, and then walk in again. Luckily, the more you go in, the lesser the security searches. And then when you get there, there's a queue, and you have to follow the queue. And the queue is basically, we have different attendants. The interview is not as serious as it's made to seem. It's not you sitting in a room and getting the interview. It's basically just going into a room. It's basically just going into a window, like bank tellers. So going into one teller, so you all make a queue, but we have several tellers. You go into one teller, and boom, you scanned, your fingers are scanned, your passport is scanned. There's a picture you'll always be told to take. Always put in mind that after you filled the form D160, they'll send you another information on your email with details, including a list of what you will need to bring with you, depending on the kind of travel you're making. Every kind of travel has different kind of documentation, which they'll put together in that list, so that you're aware of what you're supposed to bring, including some passport photo. I don't know what by what, but it's kind of square-ish. It's kind of unique. It's not the normal passport photo which you have to bring. They'll not use it, but they'll ask for 2 copies, and they'll scan and everything, which is what will go on your visa. And then after that, 3-4 minutes interview. Well, the interview can go as long as possible, depending on what they want to get from you, and depending on the reason you're traveling. But for me, it was like 3 questions. Why am I going? Who's funding for my trip? What was I doing at that point, which I was just about to get done with my internship at Heinrich Böll Foundation, and they wanted to know what next after my internship. And I told them, being an activist and a feminist, you'll never really run out of things to do. There's always a lot of organizing to do, and so that's what I'll be coming home to. And that question, and boom, the guy just told me, your visa has been approved, go to window 10. Window 10 is basically where the cashier is, where you pay the 4,200. That will service the processing of the visa, that will service your visa being dropped to your nearest place where you can pick it up. And and I did that, and they're very on point when it comes to information sharing. So after that, went back home, stayed. That 4th was, I think, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They told me it was Monday. They told me, well, it's always like a week before you get your visa. So they told me probably the next week on Tuesday is when I'll get the email, but I got the email on Friday. So I had to wait until the following week to go and pick it. And I went, no, 4th was not on Monday. I went for my visa on Monday. I went for my visa on 4th. That was, okay, I don't know, guys. I have the dates butchered. But that's okay. But yeah, I went for my visa on 4th, and by 7th, 6th, 7th, I had my visa already. So yeah, I went and picked it where I said it should be dropped, and that was it. I had my visa, and it was like, for me, it was one of the, like, everything that was done. I appreciate procedure if it means you doing a good job on your end, and so for me, I didn't have a problem with that. But it was amazing. Then coming to Denmark now, that was another process all the same that really frustrated me and everything. First of all, they ask for a lot of information. There's a form either you can fill online or you can go to VSF. VSF is located at I don't remember the name of the building. It's located in Westlands, opposite Michael Joseph Center, where Amnesty International is. The building, I'll remember the name of the building, I'll leave it in the comment section. But basically, yeah, VFS is located there. It's an alternative place instead of going to the embassy. While they don't necessarily allow people to go to the embassy to apply for the visa, so you go to VFS and make the application, and there is where you meet up some files with the required documentation for when you're traveling and everything. And I'll tell you for a fact, their process is really cumbersome. I don't know why, because other than the information, like for me, I was traveling to come for a training that was fully funded for, and so at some point I never really understood why they were asking for many documents, because other than the asking for the documents of the organization that is funding your trip, which they did, and I compiled all the information, including invitation letter from where I was going for the training to approval letter from the organization that is going to fund me and all that kind of stuff. Only after doing the application do I get a call from the consular, that is the embassy now, not VSF, to provide things like my bank statement, to provide things like a letter from my bank approving that I bank with my bank, you know, all that detail. And for me, I think the process became frustrating, because by the time they were asking for these documents, I was not in Nairobi. I had traveled to go for the PLGP program that I'm a part of, and I was away from Nairobi and literally away from civilization, which means I couldn't do most things. To get a bank statement and to get a letter of approval by a bank, to get a certified bank statement and a letter of approval, you need to physically go to the bank. And since I was away, that was gonna be kind of hard. So that was hard, and it led to a bit of procrastination. And I promise you for a fact, it's not a hard process. It got to a point where I call the consular, because now I have the number, and they'll tell me my visa has been approved, but the only way it can be given to me is if I provide information on my bank statement. The day of my travel, that is on 16th of April 2019, I woke up in the morning without having a visa, and I called them again, because I had explained every reason why I wouldn't be able to provide a certified bank statement, which I didn't know what it looks like. Apparently, it means just going to the bank and having a stamp that has been signed, and they provide your current bank statement. I call in the morning and they tell me, your visa has been approved, but you can't get it until you provide that information. And I had to rush to the bank that morning, get the information, send it. After I sent the information, I get to learn later, and I send the information really early in the morning, around 9 in the morning. I stay until around 11. I call again, and they tell me, we've not yet got information. I told her, which I had sent a message after I sent the email, that I have already sent the details and everything. And then I go and take, because after you've done the application and everything has been authorized, including taking fingerprints and everything, it's not a long process if you have all the documentation. Like I said, documentation varies, and oftentimes if you're traveling under a funded project, they ask for the organization that is funding your project, they ask for the details. That day, they even started asking for numbers of people in Action Aid, of offices in Action Aid. I gave them the numbers. They'd say the numbers are not going through. It was a frustration. By 2:45, I was at VFS with my receipt, because I had to go to Global Platform offices to pick my receipt, which I had dropped after, accountability. And I went to VFS and they told me my visa has not gone there, and I had to take a border to the embassy, because if I had taken a matatu I wouldn't have figured shit out, or a taxi. I went to the border to the embassy. Getting to the embassy, I can't be allowed in. Then I called the lady again, and she tells me that the visa has been approved, everything is okay now, but I have to wait for the boss, who has been in a meeting the whole day. It's already 3:30, that's the time they close the embassy, to wait for the boss to come out. She's the only one that will decide whether I'll get my visa or not. And I asked her, so advise me, and up to this point, should I wait? Should I just cancel my trip? What should I do? And she said, I can't advise you on that because I don't know, because my boss is not here. And then I asked her, can I sit out here and wait? And I ended up sitting. Like, if you've been to the Danish embassy in Kenya, you know, the gate is really tiny, it's on the road and everything. So I ended up sitting on the road and looking like I'm lost. It's on Runda Drive, people, so uko ni mabola. So I was like just seated out there, yeah, just getting frustrated and everything. And I remember talking to one of the organizers of the seminar that I was coming for, and I was almost breaking into tears, because not because I was gonna regret that much for not coming. Well, now that I came, I was gonna regret why I didn't come, because the content that we learned here was amazing. But I was frustrated. I don't know, I break under pressure. I take long before I break, but when I break, I'm done. And I was trying so hard not to break. And I promise you, I ended up getting my visa at 5 in the evening. I was supposed to leave the house at 7:30 to go to the airport, because my flight was for 11:30, and it was frustrating. Luckily, I had just partly packed and said, let me just pack in part. If I'm going, I'll finish up. If I'm not going, I had to rush home, basically to rush home to just go pack and everything. And it was kind of frustrating. I didn't think it was gonna be this frustrating, but it was frustrating. So basically why I did this video is just to let you guys know that whenever you're going for a visa, advice number 1, always start the process early. Always. I now understand why oftentimes when I interact with people from different countries, they'll tell me, I've been planning this trip for a year and everything. There's essence in that. There's essence in knowing a year earlier that you'll be traveling on this date, on this date, on this information, so that 1, you can, in a good way, save up for the trip. And 2, especially if you're traveling on a long kind of trip, which you're funding by yourself to just go see the world and stuff. And 2, it allows you to book early. It allows you to work on your visa processes early, because every time you're going for a visa, you have to go with a ticket that is a return ticket if you're coming back, that has been fully paid for and everything, and scheduled, because when they're approving the visa, they're relying highly on why are you going, when are you going, when are you coming back, and everything. Now, to top it all off, with all that procedure with getting the Schengen visa, I got the Schengen visa, but it's really, they give their visas over a very short period of time. So while booking the flights is a good thing, it's a limiting thing when it comes to Schengen visa, because they give you a visa within the period of time that you'll be traveling. And I found that kind of crazy, because it's a long period of you being frustrated left, right, and center and all that, only to get a visa for a couple of days and everything. And it is a lot of fucking money. So it means that every other time you have to do the process of the visa, you have to spend that amount of money, because you're already given a visa, but it's gonna expire. Yeah, as opposed to the American visa, where you paid 16,800 and then you went ahead and paid 4,200. That's like 21,000. But I got a visa for 5 years, which means the next 5 years, every time I want to travel to the US, I don't have to try so much. I just have to go book my flight. My visa is intact and everything. So I don't know, compare and contrast. And also, I come from a point where I don't know. I don't know really. I'll just say, I feel like for most of the African countries, Europe should be one destination that shouldn't be hard for them to access. And also, I think I'll highlight the fact that when someone is Danish coming to Kenya, they don't have to get a visa in their country. They can just travel and then get a visa at the airport, and then go to the consulate to renew the visa according to how long they're staying. It's that simple for them. And so for me, and one thing that I think we should deliberately discuss and talk about is how privilege oppresses people. in many ways that we can understand and everything. So maybe in the coming days we'd have deeper discussions about how to maneuver around privilege, and how to ensure we come up with policies that do not oppress others just because we sit on a privileged place. Also, maybe just calling out our government on negotiating skills, because then how did we end up having an agreement between two countries where they even have an embassy in our country, if I'm going to their country I have to go for a visa, and it's a very messy process. And then on the other hand, this country, when it has its people coming to the country, the process is not that messy. Yeah, we need to really look into that and how we can, successfully negotiate for things for the better of the nation or something. So yeah, this is basically a rant, but also a few of the things that you need to know. While for the American visa, for me it was big on honesty and where you're going and when you'll come back and everything. For the Schengen visa, it's not honesty, it's basically through and through they just want to prove that if you're not rich enough, and true to the word, it's expensive to live in Copenhagen. It's very expensive. Everything is super expensive. Of course, their krona is of high value than our Kenyan shilling. So it's really expensive to live here. It's really super expensive. So what they try to bring out the whole time is if you're rich enough to afford the life here, if you have the money and everything. And I think that's why the bank statements came in. And if you do not have, regardless of whether someone is gonna fund you a trip, they don't care. So yeah, it was quite a process, all in all. But here I am, and I hope these tips will be able to help one or all of you whenever you need to travel to any of these destinations, and knowing how you can be able to work around your visa process and everything. Otherwise, it's been drill. I know it's been a minute since I did a vlog or a video of anything, so yeah, more videos will be coming up. Tomorrow I start on a tour. Another reason I came was because MS, which came in collaboration with Action Aid at some point, are celebrating 75 years of functioning. And this goes deep into the time when there were issues in Germany, and Germany its people had to come to Denmark and everything. And that's when MS was started, and MS basically looked into ensuring how they can find a solution to that. And they've contributed in a lot of things, including the transition of Zimbabwe from Mugabe to Mnangagwa and everything, all those kinds of process. And we met a guy here called Bijon, who has been through the process and written so many books that informs the policy, informs the educational sector, informs the climate change issues and everything. And the tour is basically to relate to the stories of 75 years later, the birth of Action Aid, the collaboration, the things they've been doing across the world, in Palestine, in Kenya, in Ghana, in Vietnam, and all these kind of places, in Tanzania. What have they been able to do? What can be done? And moving forward, what needs to be taken up, what needs to be dropped, and all that kind of stuff. So the tour is going to be exciting. It's going to be a tour across schools in I don't know if it's Copenhagen or Denmark. I don't know which is the right one, but I'll find out as I go. So yeah, this way is gonna start tomorrow. At least today I had a day to rest, even though it was kind of a rough day, but here we are. And come say hi to my people. Come. This is my roommate. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Maramatik from Palestine. I'm with Marie-Lise on Denmark because we take an IELTS training with people from all the world and Copenhagen.
Yay! Yeah, so this is one of the participants we were with. We were around 35 people in the course, and it was really exciting. It was really intense. I'll also do a video probably to share a few of the things that we learned during the training. But other than that, the video is already almost 30 minutes. So forgive me for that. I hope you get to watch the video. I hope you get to learn something. I hope you get to subscribe and switch the post notification button so that every time I post, you get a notification. Tell a friend to tell a friend to come and subscribe. Remember to like, comment, share with people who you know might benefit from this. And as always, remember to be kind to one another, but also don't forget to be kind to yourself. Do have a great evening and lots of love from me. Bye guys.